The simple experiment, if you are neurotic or not, is just think about the situation. You're watching a movie which has some horror scene in it or some disgusting scene in it. And if you react to that scene with your negative emotion too much, then you're neurotic. This is the Ellie
and Lee show.
For the second trait of Big Five, we're gonna talk about neuroticism, right?
Yeah.
This is the most interesting one to me, actually.
It's the one you deal with quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm exceptionally high with it. I used to be. Simple definition of neuroticism. Neuroticism has to do with negative emotions.
Yeah.
It can be divided with two categories. First one, withdrawal.
So withdrawal is like removing yourself from a situation.
Avoiding the situation you're in, right?
Like if you don't feel comfortable, then you want to pull back.
Because you're so anxious and nervous to deal with that, right?
Yeah.
The second category is volatility.
How quickly your state changes. So you can go from being normal to being upset really quickly.
So maybe it's something related to bipolar.
No, it's possible. But the thing is that the way I kind of thought about it is that, like, if you're someone that's volatile, then I think you can kind of get irritated quickly. Maybe someone says something, then it can put you off, and now you get irritated at what they say or what they do. Some situation like that.
It's me.
Yeah. But you've been working on it.
Anyway, I worked on it and now it's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the short definition from the Jordan Peterson website.
Yeah.
The simple experiment, if you are neurotic or not, is just think about the situation. You're watching a movie which has some horror scene in it or some disgusting scene in it.
Yeah.
And if you react to that scene with your negative emotion too much, then you're neurotic. It's in the book, it says that. So I can say I am pretty neurotic because as Lee said, when I watched Ford v Ferrari, I just could feel the change of my emotions by the scene progresses. So it was interesting.
Yeah, I think even just when watching like YouTube in general, I have little to no expression, even if I'm interested in what I'm watching. But it's also maybe just that I'm not that reactive.
You're not. You're kind of exception.
I don't know.
So anyway, in the book, it describes neurotic people as like this. They tend to worry about useless things too much. So, usual people also worry about useless things, right? But they tend to worry about 80% of useless things.
Oh, okay.
But us, neurotic people, 99% of worries are useless. So, not now, but in the past, what I worry about was that I'm living in an apartment and it's high. Every night, I usually think of how I can evacuate whenever the fires on my house because it's high floor, so I cannot really go downstairs like the first floor to evacuate. So that's like one of my daily fear. And before I go to sleep, I was thinking in bed, and then I suddenly open my eyes up and then check every doors and windows. And my parents usually said, "Oh, we don't have to worry, thanks to you."
Yeah, okay.
So now I'm thinking back then I was neurotic.
Yeah, I think for me, because the thing is I'm really not neurotic. We're kind of opposite on that. So there's times when it's hard for me to kind of understand why you would feel worried about it. Because for me, it's just like, well, it doesn't matter. Let's say if you're worried about an earthquake. To me, it's like, well, if the earthquake happens, there's not much you can do about it. Yeah. If it's going to bring the building down, then, well, either hope you survive or just that's, well, goodbye.
That's what I was threatening you before you came to Japan,
Yeah,
right?
with the earthquakes.
Mm.
Which is surprising. Either it's because I really don't notice stuff, or it's just that I haven't experienced it. But like, I've never felt an earthquake as yet. But there have been numerous small kind of earthquakes in the area.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I've never noticed it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's good though.
If you're enjoying this video so far,
Please like and subscribe.
yeah. So I think like it also comes down to, you know, when we were back in the hunter-gatherer stage, you know, those that would perceive something as a threat might have been more likely to survive. So I'm sure there's some medical or psychological background to it.
So, from the brain experiment, the scientists found out that people with high neuroticism often have hardship to control their negative emotion. So, some people might think that it's possible for someone to just easily change their neuroticism. But the brain part, which suppresses negative emotion, failed to be activated.
Ah, okay.
And then another interesting biological fact is that there are two types of genes which can detach serotonin from synapse.
What's that?
So serotonin is the brain transmitter, and then it often relates to depression.
Ah, okay. So like people that don't have serotonin, they feel depressed.
All has serotonin usually,
Okay.
but with lesser.
Ah, okay.
Synapse is a gap between neurons.
Okay.
So, just short biological fact how these two neurons communicate each other. So, within the neuron, they have the electronical signal.
Yeah.
But between the neurons, they communicate through the neurotransmitter, such
Okay.
as serotonin or adrenaline, and
Oh,
so
okay.
on. If you have lots of serotonin in the synapse, you wouldn't have that depression problem.
Okay.
But if you don't have that much of serotonin in your synapse, then yeah, that might cause you depression or something.
Oh, that's interesting.
Two types of genes which can detach serotonin from synapse.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is long type.
Okay.
Second one is short type.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, people with short type of this gene tend to be more neurotic compared to those without short type genes.
Ah, okay.
Usually from genes, protein is made, or other biological controller.
Okay.
And maybe, I'm thinking, the short type gene might make the functionality go down. Because the functionality of this gene is to catch serotonin from synapse. But if it doesn't work well, then in the synapse there is lower serotonin level, so it might occur to... it may lead to depression.
Yeah. Wow.
Isn't it interesting?
It's too much biological stuff.
But I have a question for you.
Okay.
Okay, so seeing that a lot of it, well, the research is showing that, you know, there's some genetic factor, then do you think that if you, like, you know, you have this CRISPR-Cas9, the gene editing stuff, do you think that if you started using, like, if you could identify specifically those things and you started editing genes, do you think you could start changing a person's personality? Because to me, that would be kind of scary, I guess. Because let's say you identify the long and short, like wherever that thing is in the gene.
That's kind of just one part of reaction, but let's say we identified all genes that might affect to neuroticism.
That's crazy to think about, because then you could technically, if you thought you had a personality flaw, or it'd be good for those that have the diseases, like mental diseases, that would help. But then, you know, changing
But I
your
wonder,
personality.
like, if we can use. It's not possible right now.
Yeah,
Obviously.
right now, yeah.
But maybe in the future, from what I think, I'm not a biologist. I just like biology. So my assumption, if we identify all the factor genes which cause neuroticism, and second, I believe CRISPR-Cas9 is possible in vitro. In vivo is something you experiment inside the living thing.
Ah, okay.
So let's say there is a mean to just change your gene
Yeah.
in vivo, then you need to change all the cells because each cell has its own
okay.
DNA.
Okay.
Gene is a framework of making some biological materials. So we can just simply put that biological materials, not from genes.
But then that's kind of what drugs do now. Because I'm sure like you get drugs, well obviously you get drugs for when you're depressed that kind of inhibit or maybe increase your serotonin levels.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
That's doing it without having to edit your genes or anything like that.
I think like edit your gene would be effective when you are only one cell. You know what I mean? So like several years ago actually there was gene edited Chinese baby without AIDS thingy, but it was really controversial.
Interesting.
So because like it's before you divide into so much cells, right? So you can just change one DNA on one cell.
It's going to continue replicating. So, that's crazy.
It's interesting.
Yeah. Because like even Elon Musk is doing stuff with Neuralink.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, where he wants to have like an interface to the cloud through your brain. Because if you did that and also gene editing, then like what kind of humans would we be in the future? Because then you could technically like edit your gene to add a bit of, let's just say, code so that it's more receptive to processing that kind of Neuralink information.
That sounds really sci-fi.
Yeah, I know, it's cool.
I'm thinking how that's gonna be possible, but yeah, Elon Musk made.
We should keep the Elon. We should keep the Elon. We should keep the Elon Musk.
So also just one more thing that I read about helping when you tend to be more neurotic is like getting into a routine really helps stabilize you. Because the thing is, if you reduce the number of variables that you have to deal with every day, then, you know, you can feel comfortable with that schedule that you've made. Then, you know, if you have fewer things to worry about, like if you know, okay, when I wake up, I've got to do these things, and, you know, it's relatively simple. I've done the process of figuring out how I can do it. Then, like when something new comes along, you have more capacity to deal with it. Because obviously I think like people that are less neurotic are also maybe able to deal with more kind of crazier environments or like a lot of variability in their environment. You know, like maybe a more neurotic person would have a bigger reaction to starting a new job than someone that's less neurotic.
Might have been.
Yeah.
And it was really helpful for me to accept the fact that I'm neurotic.
So that's why we wanted to make these videos. It's not only for us to discuss it. I think right now that's the main reason. We just like to discuss it and talk about it to each other. But then also I think it's important for just anyone to kind of learn like what your personality is. You know, what are things that you might struggle with. Because when you kind of have a basic understanding of your starting point, then it's easier to know where you can improve and, you know, what might be difficult and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps us out.
Thanks for watching. See you.